There's a kind of gardening that most people never discover, not because it's difficult or exotic, but because it contradicts everything modern agriculture has taught us about how food should be grown. This approach doesn't ask you to till soil every spring, doesn't require endless trips to the nursery for seeds and transplants, and doesn't demand that you start from zero each season. Picture instead a garden you plant once in your lifetime, a garden that feeds you next year, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, and continues producing long after you're no longer around to tend it. This isn't fantasy or wishful thinking. It's how food systems worked for most of human history, before someone convinced us that productivity meant repetition and annual exhaustion. Scattered across different climates and regions are plants that laugh at our modern gardening assumptions, trees that produce fruit for a century, shrubs that yield 50 pounds of berries while simultaneously enriching your soil, vines that convert a simple fence into a decades-long food source. These aren't genetic experiments or unproven novelties. They're time-tested species that fed empires, survived ice ages, and asked for almost nothing except to be planted and left alone. What follows is a journey through 20 of these permanent producers. Some will challenge what you think you know about fruit trees. Others will fix nitrogen in your soil while outproducing anything you've grown before. And one grows so aggressively that you'll need to actively prevent it from colonizing your entire property. These are crops that connect you not just to next season's harvest, but to harvests your grandchildren will gather from the same roots you plant today. Let's discover what real permanence looks like. Number 1. Mulberry, the tree that redefines abundance. When we talk about productive fruit trees, most people think in terms of bushels or dozens of pounds. Mulberry operates on a completely different scale. Morus species are fast-growing trees that, once mature, can produce 100 to 300 pounds of fruit in a single favorable year, and they maintain this extraordinary output for decades. The berries resemble elongated blackberries with a sweet, mild flavor. They ripen progressively over several weeks in early summer, giving you an extended harvest window. When a mulberry tree hits full production, you'll find yourself standing beneath a literal canopy of fruit, genuinely wondering how to process it all. Fresh consumption, jams, pies, wine, dried fruit, even chicken feed. You'll discover uses you never anticipated. These trees grow at remarkable speed, sometimes putting on 6 feet in a single growing season when young. They adapt to various soil types, become drought-tolerant once established, and suffer from virtually no serious pest or disease problems. Birds are attracted to the fruit, which some view as competition, but many growers deliberately plant mulberries to distract birds from other crops. There are white, red, and black mulberries, classified by fruit color. Black mulberries offer the finest flavor, but tolerate less cold. White mulberries grow extremely vigorously. Red mulberries are native to North America. Trees can reach 20 to 40 feet in height, so thoughtful placement matters. The fruit drops as it ripens, staining everything below, which is why some growers spread tarps or sheets to catch falling berries. Mulberry disappeared from suburban landscapes because of the mess and because male trees produce heavy pollen. But for actual food production measured in permanence and volume, mulberry is extraordinary. Number 2. Pawpaw, the native custard producer. Asimina triloba might be North America's best-kept fruit secret. This small understory tree produces large custard-like fruits with a tropical flavor profile completely unexpected from a temperate climate plant. Pawpaw fruits taste like a fusion of banana, mango, and melon with a creamy texture unlike anything else growing in zones 5 through 9. A mature pawpaw tree produces 50 to 100 pounds of fruit annually and can continue this production for 50 to 100 years or more. The trees are genuinely beautiful, featuring large tropical-looking leaves and unusual maroon flowers in spring. What makes pawpaw remarkable beyond flavor is its native status. Being indigenous to North America, it's perfectly adapted to local climates and conditions. The trees have no serious pest problems because their leaves contain natural insecticides. They grow well in partial shade, making them ideal for forest gardens or understory planting beneath taller canopy trees. Pawpaws require cross-pollination, so plant at least 2 different varieties. The trees reach 15 to 30 feet in height. They prefer rich, well-drained soil and consistent moisture, though they tolerate a range of conditions. Improved cultivars like Sunflower, Shenandoah, and Susquehanna have been selected for larger fruits and enhanced flavor. The fruits don't store long, only a few days at room temperature, perhaps a week refrigerated, which makes them impossible to commercialize. But for home production, Pawpaw offers flavors you simply cannot purchase. Plant them now, and your grandchildren will harvest fruit from the same trees you plant today. Number 3. American Persimmon, the frost-sweet transformer. Diospyros virginiana teaches patience in exchange for sweetness. This tree produces fruits that are powerfully astringent until fully ripe after frost, then transform into incredibly sweet, date-like fruits with rich, complex flavor. These trees are productive for decades, often 50 or more years, with mature specimens producing 75 to 150 pounds of fruit in favorable years. The fruits are smaller than Asian persimmons, but more intensely flavored when properly ripe. You'll recognize readiness when they're soft and almost translucent. The trees are beautiful year-round, with attractive bark, excellent fall color, and an elegant natural form. American persimmons are native to the eastern United States and phenomenally hardy. They tolerate cold to zone 5, drought once established, and grow in poor soil that would discourage most fruit trees. They develop deep taproots that make them nearly indestructible once established, and they live for generations with zero maintenance. American persimmons are dioecious, requiring male and female trees, or you can plant a self-fertile cultivar. The trees can grow 30 to 60 feet tall if left unpruned, but respond well to pruning for size management. Improved varieties like Meter, Proc, and Yates have been selected for superior fruit and cold hardiness. The fruits are excellent fresh after frost, dried like dates, or used in puddings, breads, and traditional American persimmon pudding. They were a staple food for Native Americans and early settlers. American persimmon got overshadowed when Asian persimmons became commercially available, but for permanent productive trees in challenging conditions, the native species is unmatched.
Number 4. Quince, the preservation king. Sidonia oblonga represents the intersection of high productivity and preservation perfection. This small tree produces exceptional yields of hard, aromatic fruits that transform into the finest jams, jellies, and pastes imaginable. A single mature quince tree can produce 200 to 300 pounds of fruit in a good year. The fruits are rock hard and astringent when fresh, genuinely inedible raw, but cook them with sugar and they undergo a remarkable transformation into glowing pink-orange preserves with a flavor combining apples, pears, and roses. The aroma is intoxicating. Quince paste, called membrillo, is a traditional Mediterranean delicacy served with cheese. These trees are exceptionally robust. They resist disease, tolerate cold to zone 5, grow in heavy clay soil that stops other trees, and live 50 years or more. They require minimal pruning and almost no pest management. The spring blossoms are gorgeous, and trees remain manageable at 12 to 15 feet in height. Traditional varieties like Champion and Pineapple are proven producers with extensive documented success. The fruits store well for months in cool conditions, permitting processing throughout winter at your convenience. Quince contains naturally high pectin levels, so preserves set perfectly without additional pectin. Quince disappeared from common cultivation because modern food systems favor fruits edible fresh off the tree. But for preserving, quince has no equal. It's the tree that converts a single afternoon of harvest into a year's supply of gourmet preserves. Number 5. Elderberry, the medicinal multitasker. Sambucus canadensis is where medicinal value and culinary production merge in one exceptionally vigorous shrub. These plants produce enormous clusters of dark purple berries, famous for immune-supporting elderberry syrup, but equally valuable in wine, jams, and baked goods. Production is phenomenal. A mature elderberry bush produces 12 to 15 pounds of berries per plant annually. The white flower clusters in early summer are also edible, used for elderflower cordial and fritters. This plant delivers 2 distinct harvests from the same specimen. These shrubs grow rapidly. You'll get fruit in the 2nd or 3rd year. They adapt to wet or dry soils, tolerate partial shade, though they produce best in full sun, and respond vigorously to hard cutting back, producing new growth loaded with flowers and fruit. They're cold hardy to zone 3. Elderberries grow 8 to 12 feet tall and sucker freely, forming dense clumps. You can manage them as individual shrubs or allow them to fill in as hedges. Improved varieties like York, Nova, and Johns produce larger berries and heavier yields. The berries must be cooked. Raw elderberries can cause digestive upset, but cooked into syrup, jam, or wine, they're safe and delicious. Elderberry got overlooked commercially because the berries are delicate and don't ship well, but for home production, particularly for immune-supporting syrup, elderberry is unbeatable. Number 6. Serviceberry, the multi-season performer. Amelanchier species refuse to compromise on anything. These plants deliver sweet blueberry-like berries, stunning spring flowers, brilliant fall color, and cold hardiness surviving Zone 2. It's a complete package. The berries ripen in early summer, typically June, with a genuinely delicious sweet flavor and subtle almond undertone. A mature plant produces 10 to 20 pounds of fruit annually with remarkable consistency. Native Americans relied heavily on serviceberries, drying them for winter storage and incorporating them into pemmican. What sets serviceberry apart is adaptability. It grows in various soil types, tolerates partial shade, resists deer browsing better than most fruiting plants, and requires minimal pruning or care. Cold doesn't intimidate it whatsoever. The spring blossoms are genuinely beautiful, giving the plant ornamental value alongside food production. You can plant serviceberry as individual specimens, in hedgerows, or as understory plants beneath taller trees. Maximum production comes in full sun, but it still bears fruit in partial shade. The berries are excellent fresh, in pies, jams, or dried for storage. Birds are fond of them, so netting may be necessary for full harvest. Serviceberry got overlooked by blueberries in commercial agriculture, but for home production, particularly in cold climates, serviceberry offers reliability that blueberries simply cannot match. Number 7. Aronia, the antioxidant powerhouse. Aronia melanocarpa, also called chokeberry, might be the most productive berry shrub you can plant. These shrubs produce massive crops of small, dark purple berries with antioxidant levels exceeding almost every other fruit. A single mature shrub yields 20 to 30 pounds of berries annually, and they grow successfully from Zone 3 to Zone 8. These shrubs are virtually indestructible. They tolerate poor soil, wet or dry conditions, extreme cold, and have no serious pest or disease issues. The white spring flowers are attractive, berries ripen in late summer, and fall color is spectacular. They require zero inputs beyond occasional pruning for shape maintenance. Plant Aronia in full sun for maximum production, though partial shade is tolerated. Spacing of 4 to 6 feet works well for hedgerow production. The berries are excellent fresh, in pies, jams, or dried for storage. Mix Aronia juice with apple or grape juice to balance tartness, or add to smoothies for exceptional nutritional content. Number 8. Hardy kiwi, the fence-line fruit factory. Forget everything you know about grocery store kiwi. Actinidia argata is a completely different plant. These are smooth-skinned, grape-sized fruits with flavors surpassing their fuzzy tropical relatives, growing on vines that can transform any sturdy fence or trellis into a 50-year fruit factory. Once established, a hardy kiwi vine produces 50 to 100 pounds of fruit every single year with minimal input. These vines survive temperatures down to minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit. They're not particular about soil composition. Pests and diseases largely ignore them. And within 3 to 5 years of planting, you'll have a mature producing vine. The setup is straightforward. You need both male and female plants for pollination, but one male can pollinate up to 8 females. Train them on something strong, a fence, arbor, or heavy-duty trellis, because these vines are vigorous and will cover 15 to 20 feet once established. Harvest comes in fall, and fruits keep for weeks under refrigeration. Modern research confirms that hardy kiwi contains more vitamin C than oranges. Most people have never heard of this plant simply because nurseries stock what sells, and what sells is what people already know.
Number 9. Jujube, the drought champion. Visifus jujuba is a fruit tree that actually performs better when neglected. This drought-tolerant tree produces sweet date-like fruits and genuinely prefers dry conditions and poor soil. Jujube has been cultivated in China for over 4,000 years. The fruits are exceptionally nutritious, loaded with vitamin C and antioxidants, and can be consumed fresh, dried, or candied. Fresh jujubes taste like crisp apples with date undertones. Dried, they become chewy and sweet, remarkably similar to dates. A mature tree produces 40 to 100 pounds of fruit each year. What makes jujube extraordinary is resilience. It tolerates drought that would kill most trees. It grows in poor soil. It handles extreme heat. It has virtually no pest or disease problems. The trees leaf out late in spring, helping them avoid late frost damage. They're nearly maintenance-free. No spraying, minimal pruning, just harvesting. Jujube trees reach 15 to 30 feet depending on variety. They prefer full sun and well-drained soil, but grow in clay, sand, or rocky ground that would discourage most crops. Some varieties have thorns, so improved cultivars like Li or Lang make harvesting easier. Number 10. Honeyberry, the early season champion. Lonicera caerulea, also called haskap, is the berry that ripens before strawberries even begin. These shrubs produce elongated blue berries tasting like a cross between blueberries and raspberries, ready to harvest in late spring, sometimes as early as May. These shrubs are incredibly cold hardy, surviving minus 40 degrees and actually requiring winter chill for optimal production. The berries are high in antioxidants and vitamin C, with unique complex flavor. Yields increase as plants mature, with established shrubs producing 5 to 10 pounds each. They're among the first fruits to ripen, filling the gap before anything else is ready. They're easy to grow, requiring minimal care once established. They tolerate various soil types, prefer full sun, but handle partial shade. They're nearly pest-free. You need 2 different varieties for cross-pollination, so plant at least 2. The shrubs grow 4 to 6 feet tall and wide, suitable for smaller spaces. Number 11. Gumi, the nitrogen-fixing berry. Elaeagnus multiflora seems too good to be true. This shrub produces delicious, sweet, tart berries, fixes nitrogen in the soil, tolerates poor conditions, and produces heavy crops with minimal attention. And the berries are genuinely delicious, bright red, juicy, with a sweet, tart flavor requiring no cooking. The shrubs feature silver-scaled leaves that shimmer in the breeze and small, fragrant flowers that attract beneficial insects. By early summer, branches are loaded with translucent red berries tasting like a cross between cherries and rhubarb. A mature gumi produces 8 to 15 pounds of fruit annually. As a member of the Elaeagnus family, it fixes nitrogen through root nodules, actually improving soil while producing fruit. It tolerates partial shade, poor soil, drought once established, and has no significant pest problems. The plants are self-fertile, requiring only one for production, though multiple plants increase yields. Gumi grows 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, making it ideal for hedgerows or edible landscaping. The berries are excellent fresh, in jams or dried. Some ferment them into wine. Birds love gumi, so prompt harvesting when ripe or netting may be necessary. The reason gumi isn't common is purely lack of awareness. Most nurseries don't stock it, but for permaculture plantings and low-maintenance production, gumi delivers remarkably well. Number 12. Sea buckthorn, the vitamin explosion. Hippophae rhamnoides takes productivity to another level entirely. This thorny shrub produces vibrant orange berries in quantities that seem impossible, up to 50 pounds per plant at maturity. As a bonus, it fixes nitrogen in the soil, actively improving fertility for surrounding plants while producing fruit. The berries are intensely sour and tart, but loaded with vitamin C, vitamin E, omega fatty acids, and antioxidants. They're processed into juice, oil, jams, and health supplements. Sea buckthorn oil is particularly valuable for skincare and medicinal applications. Sea buckthorn tolerates terrible soil, sandy, rocky, nutrient-poor, and actually prefers such conditions. It handles salt spray, wind, cold, down to zone 3. The roots fix nitrogen like legumes, enriching soil while producing fruit. Number 13. Cornelian cherry, the ancient survivor. Cornus mas has been feeding people for thousands of years. This small tree, cultivated across Europe and Asia since ancient times, produces tart cherry-like fruits perfect for preserves and syrups. The tree itself is virtually impossible to kill. Cornelian cherry blooms extraordinarily early. Bright yellow flowers emerge in late winter, often while snow still covers the ground. By late summer, the tree is laden with oblong red fruits. They're too tart for most palates when fresh, but cooked with sugar, they create exceptional preserves. The tree is extremely hardy to zone 4, tolerates drought once established, resists all common pests and diseases, and lives well over a century. These trees produce for decades without any input whatsoever. Number 14. Medlar, the medieval treasure. Mespelis germanica might be the strangest fruit you'll ever grow, and that strangeness is exactly what makes it fascinating. The fruits must undergo bledding, essentially controlled decomposition, before they become edible. The result is a unique dessert fruit with a flavor reminiscent of spiced apple butter, highly prized throughout medieval Europe. The fruits resemble large brown rose hips with a distinctive open calyx end. Harvest occurs in late fall after frost. Then the fruits are stored in a cool location for several weeks until they soften. The interior becomes creamy, sweet, and complex. Nothing else tastes like it. Traditional consumption methods included eating fresh with a spoon, making preserves, or incorporating into desserts. The tree itself is rugged, long-lived, and productive. It handles cold to zone 5, grows in various soils, and resists most pests. The spring flowers are beautiful, large, white, and rose-like. The tree stays small, 10 to 15 feet, with attractive twisted branches and excellent fall color. Once established, Medlar produces reliably for decades with minimal intervention. Modern gardeners often overlook Medlar because the fruit seems unfamiliar and the bledding process seems strange. But for anyone interested in historical fruits or unique flavors, Medlar offers something genuinely irreplaceable. You can make Medlar cheese, a traditional preserve resembling thick fruit paste, or simply enjoy the bledded fruit fresh. This is the fruit that taught medieval people patience and provided winter desserts when nothing else was available.
Number 15. Mayhaw, the wetland specialist. If you have low-lying, perpetually wet ground that other fruit trees refuse to tolerate, Mayhaw is your answer. Crataegus aestivalis is a small tree native to the American South that doesn't just tolerate swampy conditions, it thrives in them. And when it produces big. A mature mayhaw can yield 20 to 30 gallons of fruit in a single season. The fruits are small, tart, berry-sized, and resemble tiny crab apples. They appear in May, hence the name, covering the branches in red or orange clusters. Fresh, they're quite tart, but that tartness creates what many consider the finest jelly in the South, a unique sweet tart profile that no other fruit can replicate. Mayhaw trees are long-lived and remarkably disease-resistant. Plant one and it will still be feeding people 3 generations from now. They require virtually no maintenance once their roots are down. They handle poor drainage that would drown most fruit trees, and they produce consistently year after year. Traditional harvesters would simply spread sheets beneath the trees and shake the branches, collecting gallons of fruit in minutes. The trees stay manageable in size, 15 to 25 feet, making harvest accessible without ladders. Modern cultivars bred for larger fruits and heavier yields are available, but even wild mayhaw trees are impressively productive. The fruits work beautifully in jellies, syrups, wine, and sauces. Commercial fruit production ignored mayhaw because the fruits don't ship well, but for home production and preserving, especially if you have wet ground that seems useless for anything else, mayhaw transforms that liability into generations of productivity. Number 16. Jerusalem artichoke, the unstoppable tuber. Helianthus tuberosus is a perennial tuber you plant once and it comes back so vigorously you might need to contain it. This is the crop where your challenge won't be getting it to grow, it'll be preventing it from spreading. The tubers taste nutty and sweet, similar to water chestnuts when raw, becoming creamier when cooked. They're high in inulin, a prebiotic fiber excellent for gut health. A small patch can produce 50 to 100 pounds of tubers per year. They grow 6 to 10 feet tall, producing cheerful yellow sunflowers in late summer. The tubers multiply underground aggressively. They tolerate terrible soil, drought, flood, neglect, and still produce massive crops. This is the crop that shows you what truly permanent food production looks like. You plant it once, and 20 years later, it's still feeding you. It's a reminder that with perennial crops, you're not just planting for next year, you're planting for the next generation. These perennial crops prove that long-term food abundance comes from planting once and thinking generations ahead. If this changed the way you see gardening, like the video, subscribe for more practical knowledge, and share in the comments which plant you'd start with first.